The ceasefire lasted 8 hours. Russia agreed to Trump's truce, then immediately launched 27 drones and 780 artillery strikes at sleeping civilians. The prisoner swap, 1,000 soldiers on each side. Frozen. Gone. While that was happening, a U.S. Navy F/A-18 was firing into the smokestacks of Iranian oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman. And Hezbollah just rocketed Mossad headquarters. Not a border post, not a checkpoint, Mossad headquarters. And here's what nobody is connecting right now. These aren't 4 separate stories, they're one story. So who actually triggered all of this, and what happens in the next 72 hours? Stay with me, because this one changes everything. 4 theaters, all exploding at the same time. In Eastern Europe, Trump's ceasefire is dead before breakfast. In the Middle East, US jets are physically shooting Iranian ships. In the Levant, Israel just killed the man who smuggled every missile Hezbollah owns. And back home in California, the gas pumps are about to run dry. And I want you to think about that for a second. These 4 crises didn't happen in a vacuum. They are feeding each other. Every decision made in one theater is directly affecting what happens in the next one. What gets decided in the next 30 days will determine whether this world stabilizes or slides into something far worse. Here's what's actually happening. Right now, as you watch this, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. The IEA, that's the International Energy Agency, the global authority on energy markets, called this the biggest energy security threat in history. Not this decade, not this century. History, ever. 20 million barrels of oil moved through that strait every single day. That number is now in single digits. We're talking about a 95% collapse in transit volume. And the ripple effect isn't coming. It's already here. It's already moving toward your gas tank. Russia didn't just break the ceasefire. Russia used the ceasefire as a weapon. In the first 12 hours of Trump's truce, Russian forces launched 51 separate combat engagements. 51. Not one accidental border skirmish. 51 coordinated operations. And while that was happening, satellite footage caught the 90th Tank Division redeploying, refueling, rearming, rotating fresh units into position, using the diplomatic pause as cover to regenerate. But here's what they're not telling you. While every camera was pointed at the drone barrage, Ukraine quietly struck a military factory deep inside Russia, in a city called Cheboksary. That facility produces the exact electronic warfare antennas Russia uses to resist Ukrainian GPS jamming. That's not revenge, that's surgical. Ukraine just hit Russia's precision weapon nervous system. And that's not even the crazy part. Because 1,000 prisoners, real human beings waiting to go home, are now frozen. Again. And the clock does not stop. A US fighter jet just shot an Iranian oil tanker. Not warned it, not boarded it, shot it. An F/A-18 Super Hornet, launched from the USS George H.W. Bush, fired precision munitions directly into the smokestacks of 2 Iranian-flagged tankers in the Gulf of Oman. The Sea Star 3 and the Sevda disabled both ships. And this isn't speculation. Vantor satellite imagery, 30-centimeter resolution, confirms it. You can literally see the smoke rising from the disabled propulsion sections. But here's what they're not telling you. Hitting the smokestack isn't random, it's doctrine. If you hit the hull of a fully loaded oil tanker, you get an environmental catastrophe that turns the whole world against you. But hit the propulsion system, and you get total operational shutdown without a spill. Clinical. Deliberate. And an absolute Iranian red line. Write this down. The IRGC has now publicly stated their missiles are locked onto American targets, awaiting firing orders. Right now, as you watch this. Hezbollah just rocketed Israel's intelligence brain. The target was the Glilot base, just north of Tel Aviv. That's the home of Unit 8200. Think of it as Israel's NSA and GCHQ combined into one facility. Between 5 and 10,000 analysts running signals intelligence, cyber operations, and the targeting data behind every precision strike Israel executes. Hezbollah hit it with Fatty, 4 rockets, medium range, heavy payload, launched from deep underground tunnel networks called the EMAD systems, fortified positions that Israeli air power cannot easily reach or destroy. But here's what they're not telling you. Israel fired back and killed Mohammed Jafar Qasir, the commander of Hezbollah's Unit 4400. Write this down. Qasir ran the smuggling network. Every Fadi rocket, every missile, every weapon Hezbollah has ever fired passed through his hands, moving from Iran through Syria into Lebanon. Israel didn't just retaliate, they cut the supply line. And that changes everything about what Hezbollah does next. California has 6 weeks of fuel left. The last crude tanker from the Middle East, a ship called the New Corolla, just docked in Long Beach. The last one. No new cargoes are scheduled. And here's the structural problem that nobody wants to talk about. California produces just 2% of U.S. oil. It has no pipeline connecting it to Texas or the Gulf Coast. And the Asian refineries it depends on for gasoline and diesel? They run on Persian Gulf crude. the exact same crude that's now blocked. But here's what they're not telling you. Phillips 66 already shut down its Los Angeles refinery in late 2025. Valero shut its Benicia refinery in April 2026. Together, that's 17 to 20% of the state's refining capacity. Gone before this crisis even started. Write this down. Diesel prices are projected to hit $9 a gallon. And California's own energy policies left it completely exposed to this exact scenario. Look at this. Trump brokers peace. Russia uses the pause to rearm. The US blockades Iran. Iran's weapons stop reaching Lebanon. Israel kills the weapons smuggler. Hezbollah rockets Tel Aviv. The Gulf closes. California runs dry. Mozambique hikes diesel 46% overnight. These are not accidents. These are connected. Every single one of them. Pull one thread and everything moves. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. The people making these decisions know exactly what they're doing. Every move is calculated. Every consequence is anticipated. And that should scare you. The IRGC retaliation window is open right now. Something is going to break in the next 72 hours. That is not a prediction. That is a certainty. And when it does, this channel will have the analysis before anyone else. That is a promise. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it when it happens. This channel moves the moment the story moves. And drop your answer in the comments right now. Do you think Tehran signs that 14-point deal? Or does the shooting start first? I want to know what you think. The Strait of Hormuz has been a pressure point for 50 years. Back in 1973, the Arab oil embargo showed the world exactly what happens when oil stops flowing. Lines around the block, rationing, recession, and that crisis only affected roughly 10% of global oil supply. The Strait of Hormuz today moves 25% of the world's seaborne oil every single day. And the IEA says transit has collapsed by over 95% since this crisis began. You might think this is just another standoff. It isn't. Iran threatened to close the strait in 2012 and again in 2019. But the difference now is that American jets are actively shooting Iranian vessels. That is a threshold nobody has ever crossed before. And history tells us that every time this strait gets threatened, global markets panic within 48 hours. We are well past 48 hours. Write this name down. The Fateh 110. Precision-guided missile. 300-kilometer range. 500-kilogram warhead. That is what Hezbollah has not yet used. And it is pre-positioned right now. Best case scenario, China quietly brokers a deal. Tehran accepts a modified version of the 14-point memorandum. Not full surrender, but enough to save face on both sides. The strait reopens. California gets its 6-week window extended. The prisoner swap gets revived. Oil prices stabilize. Trump claims victory. Nobody gets everything they wanted, but nobody fires a Fateh 110 into Ben Gurion Airport either. Analysts give this a low probability, but it's not zero. Here's the most likely scenario. Iran doesn't fight the US Navy directly. That's not a fight they can win. Instead, sea mines start appearing in the strait. Proxy militias hit American logistics hubs in Iraq and Syria. The 22,500 mariners currently trapped on vessels in the Gulf become bargaining chips. The blockade drags on. California taps its emergency reserves. Africa suffers. And the world staggers forward in a slow bleed that nobody can stop cleanly. And then there's the worst case. One miscalculation. One IRGC missile hits a US ship and kills Americans. At that point, Trump executes the full bombing campaign, what he's been calling legendary epic fury. Iran responds by mining the entire strait. Hezbollah unleashes its full arsenal of 130,000 rockets against Tel Aviv, simultaneously. Iron Dome gets overwhelmed, oil hits $150 a barrel, and the global economy enters severe recession within 60 days. And then there's Ukraine. Because while all of this is happening in the Gulf and the Levant, Russia is watching American distraction and reading it as opportunity. New offensive. New ceasefire proposal. New trap. The pattern has a name now, and everyone in Kyiv knows exactly what it is. Here's where this lands. The administration built this blockade to break Iran's economy, but what it's actually breaking is California's supply chain, Africa's diesel market, and Europe's jet fuel pipeline. The pressure isn't just on Tehran anymore, it's turning inward. When a $9 gallon of diesel shows up at a Los Angeles gas station 6 weeks from now, the political math on this entire operation changes overnight. Washington doesn't abandon military campaigns. Washington abandons expensive ones that cost votes.